कृष्ण पादान सहगण ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते प्राप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण प्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशकारिणे। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयम् उदीरये। Hare Krishna. So continuing our study and discussion from the second chapter of the second canto entitled The Lord in the Heart, that how does a yogi who is on the path of Ashtanga Yoga, and specifically here Shat Chakra Yoga was being mentioned, how he proceeds towards the spiritual planet is being mentioned. This is a very difficult path. So continuing from 25th verse, yesterday we discussed the 24th verse, that, O king, when such a mystic passes over the Milky Way by the illuminating Sushumna to reach the highest planet, Brahmalok, he first goes to Vaishvanara, the planet of the deity of fire. That is the en route, how he travels, wherein he becomes completely cleansed of all contaminations. That means he becomes completely free of all sins. And thereafter he goes still higher to this circle of Shishumar to relate with Lord Hari, the personality of Godhead. Yesterday the internet was very unstable, so I'll read the purport once again. This is just for us to know that this is also the path, not much to get into the details. But this is not for a bhakti yogi. The pole star of the universe and the circle thereof is called the Shishumar circle. And here is the local residential planet of the personality of Godhead, Shirodakshai Vishnu, is situated. So when it is Shirodakshai Vishnu, then this is within this universe. Before reaching here, the mystic passes over the Milky Way to reach Brahmalok. And while going there, he first reaches the Vaishvanara Loka, the place of the demigod controlling the fire. On Vaishvanara Lok, the yogi becomes completely cleansed of all dirty sins acquired while in contact with the material world. The Milky Way in the sky is indicated herein as the way leading to Brahmalok, the highest planet of the universe. So various details are given that how he elevates from the lower planetary realm to the higher planetary realms. Then further, Tad Vishwanabhim Tva Ativartya Vishnu Aniyasa Virajena Atmana Ekaha Namaskrityam Brahma Vidam Upeti Kalpayusho Tadvibhudaramante. This Shishumar is the pivot for the turning of the complete universe. And it is called the navel of Vishnu, Garbhodakshai Vishnu. The yogi alone goes beyond this circle of Shishumar and attains the planet Maharlok, where purified saints like Bhrigu enjoy a duration of life, which is 4,320,000 solar years. This planet is worshipable even for the saints who are transcendently situated. Atho anantasya mukhalalena mukhanalena gadyamanam sa niriksha vishwam niryati siddheshwara jushtadhishnya yadvay paradhyam tattu parameshayam. At the time of final devastation of the complete universe, final devastation is the end of duration of Brahma's life. You all know there are two types of devastation or pralay. One is at the end of Brahma's day, and the final one is at the end of Brahma's lifespan. A flame of fire emanates from the mouth of Ananta, from the bottom of the universe. So this universe is placed on the hoods of Anantashesh. So from the bottom, from the mouth of Ananta, emanates the fire. The yogi sees all the planets of the universe burning to ashes. And thus he leaves for Satyalok by airplanes used by great purified soul. The duration of life in Satyaloka is calculated to be, I don't know how many years it is, 311 trillion. Units, tens, hundreds, unit, tens, 100,000, 10,000, 100,000, million, 10 million, billion, 10 billion, 100 billion, 1,000 billion. Yes, it is 311 trillion. 311 trillion, 40,000 billion years. It is indicated here in the residents of Maharloka, where the purified living entities or demigods possess the duration of life calculated to be 4,320,000 million solar years, have airstrips by which they reach Satyaloka, the topmost planet of the universe. In other words, the Srimad Bhagavatam gives us many clues about other planets far away from us, which modern planes and spacecraft cannot reach, even by imaginary speeds. These statements of Srimad Bhagavatam are accepted by great acharyas like Sridhar Swami, Ramanujacharya, and Vallabhacharya. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu specifically accepts Srimad Bhagavatam as the spotless Vedic authority. Srimad Bhagavatam Pramana Amalam. And as such, no sane man can ignore the statements of Srimad Bhagavatam when it is spoken by the self-realized soul, Srila Shukadeva Goswami, who follows in the footsteps of his great father, Srila Vyasadeva, the compiler of all Vedic literatures. In the creation of the Lord, there are many wonderful things we can see with our own eyes every day and night, but we are unable to reach them equipped by modern materialistic science. We should not therefore depend on the fragmentary authority of the materialistic science for knowing things beyond the range of scientific purview. For a common man, both modern science and Vedic wisdom are simply to be accepted because none of the statements, either of modern science or of Vedic literatures, can be verified by them. The alternative for a common man is to believe either of them or both of them. The Vedic way of understanding, however, is more authentic because it has been accepted by the Acharyas, who are not only faithful and learned men, but are also liberated souls from any of the flaws of conditioned souls. The modern scientists, however, are conditioned souls liable to so many errors and mistakes. Therefore, the safe side is to accept the authentic version of the Vedic literatures like Srimad Bhagavatam, which is accepted unanimously by the great Acharyas. So various stops are being given. The first stop was Vaishvanara Lok, the planet of the deity of the fire god. Then navel of Lord Vishnu. And the third is Maharloka. And the final stop is the Brahmaloka. So here, after reaching the Brahmaloka, then this mystic yogi, he stays till the end of the duration of Brahma. Going further. So the symptom of Brahmaloka is being mentioned. Na yatra shoko na jarana mrityor na rati na chodvegyo ritakutashtet yacchittato da kripayana anidam vidam duranta dukkha prabhava anudarshana. In that planet of Satyalok or Brahmalok, there is neither bereavement, nor old age, nor death. There is no pain of any kind. And therefore, there are no anxieties. Save that sometimes due to consciousness, there is a feeling of compassion for those unaware of the process of devotional service, who are subjected to unsurpassable miseries in the material world. So the opulence of the Brahmalok or Satyalok is being defined here. It is said that this place is free from the pangs of old age, disease, and death. Foolish men of materialistic temperament do not take advantage of successive authorized knowledge. The Vedic knowledge is authorized and is acquired not by experiment, but by authentic statements of the Vedic literature explained by bona fide authorities. Simply by becoming an academic scholar, one cannot understand the Vedic statement. One has to approach the real authority who has received the Vedic knowledge by disciplic succession, as clearly explained in the Bhagavad Gita 4.2. What is 4.2? Don't see the Bhagavad Gita, please don't open. Who remembers what is 4.2? Yes, Purushottam Prabhu.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी एवं परम
Yes, little louder. बोलिए.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु एवं परंपरा प्राप्तम.
आगे. एवं परंपरा प्राप्तम इमम राज ऋषियो विदो सा कालेन हवता yogo purvashta parakrita. So, how this knowledge is being passed down? Through the disciplic succession. And of course, in due course of time, this disciplic succession was broken, so Krishna is again establishing it. Lord Krishna affirmed that the system of knowledge as explained in the Bhagavad Gita was explained to the sun god, and the knowledge descended by disciplic succession from the sun god to his son Manu, and from Manu to King Ikshvaku, the forefather of Lord Ramchandra. And thus the system of knowledge was explained down the line of great sages, one after another. But in due course of time, the authorized succession was broken, and therefore, just to re-establish the true spirit of knowledge, the Lord again explained the same knowledge to Arjuna. who was the bona fide candidate for understanding due to his being a pure devotee of the Lord. How Arjuna understood the Bhagavad Gita is also explained in 10.12.13. What is 10.12.13? Don't see the book. What is 12.13? 10.12 and 13. बोलो ये सब श्लोक तो याद होना चाहिए. हाँ बोलो कुबेर.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी। परम ब्रह्म परम धामम परमम मम।
पूरा सही से बोलो.
परम ब्रह्म परम धामम परमम मम।
नहीं परम मम नहीं है. हौच पौच है. सही से बोलो किसको श्लोक याद है. Who knows this verse? 12th and 13th both. Yes, Pradeep.
अर्जुनो वाच परम ब्रह्म परम धाम पवित्रं परमं भावं पुरुषं शाश्वतं दिव्यम् आदिदेवम् आदिदेवम् आहुस्त्वं ऋषयः सर्वे देवर्षिर्नारदास्तदा आसितो देवलो व्यासः स्वयं जीव ब्रवसि.
And what is the next verse? Then what Arjuna has to do? Sarvam etadritan mane yanmam vadeva nahi tu bhagwan vyaktim vidu devana dhanavat. So Arjuna accepted it wholeheartedly. That is what is required. That is what it means to come in parampara. No argument, no refutation. That is parampara. If there is argument and refutation, one is outside program, is not in parampara. Prabhupada says, but there are many foolish men who do not follow in the footsteps of Arjuna in understanding the spirit of Bhagavad Gita. This is the spirit of Bhagavad Gita. What is the spirit of Bhagavad Gita? To accept the authority of the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the absolute. They create instead their own interpretation, which are as foolish as they themselves, and thereby only help to put stumbling blocks on the path of real understanding, misdirecting the innocent followers who are less intelligent or the Shudras. It is said that one must become a Brahmana before one can understand the Vedic statement. And this stricture is as important as the stricture that no one shall become a lawyer who has not himself qualified as a graduate. Such a stricture is as important as the stricture, that no one shall become a lawyer who has not qualified himself as a graduate. Such a stricture is not an impediment in the path of progress for anyone and everyone, but it is necessary to prevent the unqualified from spreading their misunderstanding of a particular science. Vedic knowledge is misinterpreted by those who are not qualified Brahmanas. A qualified Brahmana is one who has undergone strict training under the guidance, very important. A qualified Brahmana is one who has undergone strict training under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master. Prabhupada says further in that verse that one cannot begin to understand Krishna unless one has got personal training and guidance from a bona fide spiritual master. One cannot even begin to understand Krishna, one who has not received personal training and guidance from a bona fide spiritual master. The same point Prabhupada is emphasizing here. The Vedic wisdom guides us to understanding our relation with the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna and to acting accordingly in order to achieve the desired result of returning home back to Godhead. But materialistic men do not understand this. They want to make a plan to become happy in a place where there is no happiness. For false happiness, they try to reach other planets, either by Vedic rituals or by spacecrafts. But they should know for certain that any amount of materialistic adjustment for becoming happy in a place which is meant for distress cannot benefit the misguided men Because after all, the whole universe with all its paraphernalia will come to an end after a certain period. Then all plans of materialistic happiness will automatically come to an end. The intelligent person therefore makes a plan to return home back to Godhead. Such an intelligent person surpasses all the pangs of material existence like birth, death, disease, and old age. He is actually happy because he has no anxieties of material existence. But as a compassionate sympathizer, he feels unhappiness for the suffering materialistic men. And thus he occasionally comes before the materialistic men to teach them the necessity of going back to Godhead. All the bona fide acharyas preach this truth of returning home back to Godhead and warn men not to make a false plan for happiness in a place where happiness is only a myth. ततो विशेषां प्रतिपाद्य निर्भयस् तेनात्मनो आप अनलामूर्तिरात्वरा ज्योतिर्मयो वायुम् उपेत्य काले वायुवात्मना खम्बृहदात्मलिंगम्. After reaching Satyalok, the devotee is specifically able to be incorporated fearlessly by the subtle body in an identity similar to that of gross body. And one after another, he gradually attains stages of existence from earthly to watery, fiery, glowing, and airy until he reaches the ethereal stage. So this is the transformation which happens, that from gross to subtle. Earth is 10 times more heavier than the water. Water is 10 times heavier than the fire. Fire is 10 times more heavy than the air. And air is 10 times more heavier than the ether. So this is how the subtle changes happen. Anyone who can reach Brahmalok or Satyalok by dint of spiritual perfection and practice is qualified to attain 3 different types of perfection. One who has attained a specific planet by dint of pious activities attains places in terms of his comparative pious activities. One who has attained the place by dint of Virat or Hiranyagarbha, worship is liberated along with the liberation of Brahma. But one who attains the place by dint of devotional service is specifically mentioned here. See, very important, that one who attains by the dint of Virat Rupa. There are 3 different types of perfection. And one who attains the place by dint of devotional service is specifically mentioned here in relation to how he can penetrate into different coverings of the universe and thus ultimately disclose his spiritual identity in the absolute atmosphere of supreme existence. According to Srila Jiva Goswami, all the universes are clustered together up and down, and each and every one of them is separately 7-fold covered. The watery portion is beyond the 7-fold coverings, and each covering is 10 times more expansive, the same point which I was speaking, than the previous covering. The personality of Godhead who creates all such universe by his breathing period lies above the cluster of the universe. The water of the Kaushal ocean is differently situated than the covering water of the universe. The water that serves as covering for the universe is material, whereas the water of the Kaushal ocean is spiritual. As such, the watery covering mentioned herein is considered to be of the false egoistic covering of all living entities. And the gradual process of liberation from the material covering one after another, as mentioned herein, is the gradual process of being liberated from false egoistic conception of the material gross body and then being absorbed in the identification of the subtle body till the attainment of the pure spiritual body in the absolute realm of the kingdom of God. These are all technical details that how it happens step by step. So much details are given in Srimad Bhagavatam. And how the yogi is able to elevate himself. Srila Sridhar Swami confirmed that a part of the material nature after being initiated by the Lord is known as the Mahatattva. We all know. After being initiated by the Lord. How is the Lord initiates? How the Lord initiates the material nature? Who remembers? Very basic. All of you should be knowing. How the Lord initiates the material nature? Pranav?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, by his glance, Prabhuji.
By his glance. So the unmanifest form of Pradhan, it becomes manifest in the form of Mahatattva. And the three modes are manifest and creation begins. The fractional portion of the Mahatattva is called the false ego. And from Mahatattva comes the Mithya Ahankar. As portion of the ego is the vibration of sound, and a portion of sound is atmospheric air. A portion of the airy atmosphere is turned into form, and the forms constitute the power of electricity or heat. Heat produces the smell of the aromas of the earth, and the gross earth is produced by such aromas. And all these combined together constitute the cosmic phenomena. The extent of the cosmic phenomena is calculated to be diametrically both ways 4 billion miles. 4 billion miles. Then the coverings of the universe begin. The first stratum of the covering is calculated to extend 40 billion miles. And the subsequent covering of the universe are respectively of fire, effulgence, air, and ether, one after another, each extending 10 times further than the previous. The fearless devotee of the Lord penetrates each one of them and ultimately reaches the absolute atmosphere where everything is one and the same spiritual identity. Then the devotee enters one of the Vaikuntha planet, where he assumes exactly the same form as the Lord and engages in the loving transcendental service of the Lord. This is the highest perfection of devotional life. Beyond this, there is nothing to be desired or achieved by the perfect yogi. Granena gandham rasanena vairasam rupam cha drishtya swashanam tvaya cheva shrotena chopetya nabho gunatvam pranena chakutim upeti yogi. The devotee thus surpasses the subtle objects of different senses like aroma by smelling, the palate by tasting, vision by seeing forms, touch by contacting the vibrations of the ear by ethereal identification, and the sense organ by material activities. Beyond the sky, there are subtle coverings resembling the elementary coverings of the universe. The gross coverings are a development of partial ingredients of the subtle cause. So the yogi or devotee, along with their liquidation of the gross element, relinquishes the subtle causes like aroma by smelling. The pure spiritual spark, the living entity, thus becomes completely cleansed of all material contamination to become eligible for entrance into the kingdom of God. Sabhuta sukshmendriya sannikarsham manomayam devamayam vikaryam संसाध्यो गत्या सहतेन याति विज्ञान तत्वं गुणास सन्निरोधम. The devotee, thus surpassing the gross and subtle form of coverings, entered the plane of egoism. See, how many steps are there? Such difficult ones. And in that state, he merges the material modes of nature, ignorance and passion into this point of neutralization, and thus reaches egoism in goodness. After this, all egoism is merged into the Mahatattva. Then he comes to the point of pure self-realization. So he reverses the process. From subtle the gross come, and he reverses from gross to the subtle. Pure self-realization, as we have several times discussed, is the pure consciousness of admitting oneself to be the eternal servitor of the Lord. Thus, one is reinstated in his original position of transcendental loving service to the Lord, as will be clearly explained in the following verse. This stage of rendering transcendental loving service to the Lord without any hopes of emoluments from the Lord or any other way can be attained when the material senses are purified and the original pure state of the senses is revived. It is suggested herein that the process of purifying the senses is by the yogic ways. Namely, the gross senses are merged into the mode of ignorance, and the subtle senses are merged into the mode of passion. The mind belongs to the mode of goodness, and therefore it is called Devamaya, or godly. Perfect purification of the mind is made possible when one is fixed in the conviction of being the eternal servitor of the Lord. Therefore, simple attainment of goodness is also a material mode. One has to surpass this stage of material goodness and reach the point of purified goodness, or Vasudev Sattva. This Vasudev Sattva helps one to enter into the kingdom of God. We may also remember in this connection that the process of gradual emancipation by the devotees in the manner mentioned above, although authoritative, please hear attentively, although authoritative, is not viable in the present age because of people's being primarily unaware of yoga practice. The so-called yoga practice by the professional protagonists may be psychologically beneficial, but such small success cannot help one in the attainment of spiritual emancipations as mentioned herein. 5,000 years ago, when the social status of human society was in perfect Vedic order, the yoga process mentioned herein was a common affair for everyone because everyone was, especially the Brahmana and Kshatriya, was trained in the transcendental art under the care of the spiritual master far away from home in the status of brahmacharya. Modern man, however, is incompetent to understand it perfectly. Lord Sri Chaitanya therefore made it easier for the prospective devotee of the present age in the following specific manner. Ultimately, there is no difference in the result. The first and foremost point is that one must understand the prime importance of Bhakti Yoga. The living beings in different species of life are undergoing different terms of engagements according to their fruitive actions and reactions. But in execution of different activities, one who secures some resources in Bhakti Yoga can understand what a way of presentation. Prabhupada says, but in execution of different activities, one who secures some resources in Bhakti Yoga. What are the resources in Bhakti Yoga? Who will answer? What are the resources in Bhakti Yoga? One who secures some resources in Bhakti Yoga. Immediately the answer should come. Why there is complete silence? As if a bomb has dropped. Don't you know what are the resources in Bhakti Yoga? Yes, Purushottam?
So first is good association.
Okay. Then, what are the other resources in Bhakti Yoga? Again, everyone is completely silent. No one has any clue. What are the resources? Then why are you wasting your life and your time if you don't have any good resources in Bhakti Yoga? Yes, Ramya?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, the Bhakti Lata weaved by the mercy of a spiritual master.
Okay. One who has the bona fide shelter of the spiritual master. That is the greatest resource in the Bhakti Yoga. Others are still blank. They have no clue. Okay, I'll proceed. But in the execution of different activities, one who secures some resources in Bhakti Yoga can understand the importance of service to the Lord through the causeless mercy of the Lord, as well as that of the spiritual master. A sincere soul is held by the Lord through meeting a bona fide spiritual master, the representative of the Lord. This is the resource in Bhakti Yoga. By the instructions of such a spiritual master, one gets the seed of Bhakti Yoga. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recommends that a devotee sow the seed of Bhakti Yoga in his heart and nurture it by the watering of hearing and chanting the holy names, fame, etc. of the Lord. The simple process of offenseless chanting and hearing of the holy name of the Lord will promote one very soon to the stage of emancipation. There are 3 stages in chanting the holy name of the Lord. The first stage is the offensive chanting of the holy name. And the second name is the reflective stage of chanting the holy name. First is Apradhyuk. Second is Namabhas, reflective chanting. And the third stage is the offenseless chanting of the holy name of the Lord, or it's called Vishuddha now. In the second stage, only the stage of reflection between the offensive and offenseless stages, one automatically attains the stage of emancipation. And in an offenseless stage, one actually enters into the kingdom of God. Although physically he may apparently be within the material world, very important. See what Srila Prabhupada is emphasizing. That in an offenseless stage, one actually enters into the kingdom of God, although physically he may apparently be within the material world. To attain the offenseless stage, one must be on the guard in the following manner. When we speak of hearing and chanting, it means not only should one chant and hear the holy names of the Lord as Rama, Krishna, or systematically the 16 names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. But one should also read and hear. See what Prabhupada is mentioning here. That not just chanting, but one should also read and hear the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam in association of the devotees. This primary practice of Bhakti Yoga, this is the resource, will cause the seed already sown in the heart to sprout and the regular potting soil. Please mute. As mentioned above, the Bhakti Yoga creeper will begin to grow. By systematic nurturing, the creeper will grow to such an extent that it will penetrate the coverings of the universe, as we have heard in the previous verses. So this is the alternative way of achieving perfection than the way which was given before. This creeper will grow to such an extent that it will penetrate the coverings of the universe, as we have heard in the previous verses, reach the effulgent sky, the Brahma Jyoti, and go further and further and reach the spiritual sky, where there are innumerable spiritual planets called Vaikuntha Loka. Above all of them is Krishna Loka or Golok Vrindavan, wherein the growing creeper enters and takes repose at the lotus feet of the Lord Sri Krishna, the original personality of Godhead. When one reaches the lotus feet of Lord Krishna at Golok Vrindavan, the watering process of hearing and reading, as also chanting of the holy name in pure devotional state, further fructifies, and the fruits grown there in the form of love of God are tangibly tasted by the devotee. Even though he is here in this material world, the ripe fruit of love of God are relished only by the devotees constantly engaging in the watering process as described. But the working devotee must always be mindful so that the creeper which has so grown will not be cut off. Therefore, he should be mindful of the following considerations. Offense by one at the feet of a pure devotee may be likened to the mad elephant who devastates a very good garden if he enters. This is Hathi Madhav. One must be very careful to guard himself against such offenses at the feet of pure devotee, just as one protects a creeper by all around fencing. It so happens that by watering process, some weeds are also grown. And unless such weeds are uprooted, the nurturing of the main creeper or the creeper of Bhakti Yoga may be hampered. Actually, these weeds are material enjoyment, merging of the self and the absolute without separate individuality, and many other desires in the field of religion, economic development, sense enjoyment, and emancipations. There are many other weeds like disobedience to the tenets of the revealed scriptures, unnecessary engagements, killing animals, and hankering after material grades, prestige, and adoration. If sufficient care is not taken, then the watering process may only help to breed the weeds, stunting the healthy growth of a main creeper and resulting in no fructification of the ultimate requirement, love of God. The devotee must therefore be very careful to uproot the different weeds in the very beginning. Only then will the healthy growth of the main creeper not be stunted. And by so doing, the devotee is able to relish the fruit of love of God and thus live practically with Lord Krishna, even in this life, and be able to see the Lord in every step. This is the Lord in the heart. The highest perfection of life is to enjoy life constantly in association of the Lord, and one who can relish this does not aspire after any temporary enjoyment of the material world by other media. So I'll stop here. So both these paths are being explained. Srila Prabhupada in particular is emphasizing on the path of Bhakti Yoga, then the mystic yoga. Hare Krishna. Is there any question or any discussion? Not much to discuss or elaborate here. The alternative path, the difficult path also Krishna enumerates. Because otherwise people will say, Bhagavatam elaborates, that the entirety has not been presented. So Srimad Bhagavatam presents the entirety of all the processes, but which process is the most proven and most effective is also very clearly delineated in this section of Srimad Bhagavatam. Hare Krishna. Our forthcoming yatra for Kurukshetra is confirmed. We'll be traveling on 14th and 15th of June. Purushottam, Saturday and Sunday. Okay. Thanks to Pranav. I informed him in the morning, he sent me his ticket. So I told Ravinder, now it is confirmed. Pranav has already made his ticket. Manoram is still deliberating. He is still thinking. If you do like this, you will be left out. They show that the desire is not there. The doubt is there in the heart. We should always depend on Krishna. And we should depend on Krishna so heavily, then he has to change the karma. But if we put our thought in that, then the karma will prevail. Then it cannot be eliminated. So many times I have explained, but still, the mind does not undergo any transformation or change. Okay, Purushottam?
Okay, Prabhuji, I'll plan.
आवाज कट रही है आपकी. अरे, what is there to plan? You have to come.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Okay, Prabhuji.
Yeah, should come.
Yes, Prabhu.
Kurukshetra, I was given notice of 2 hours. Come. I said, yes, I am coming. What will happen? The world will not fall. Are, who cares whether we exist or not? And why do we care for others? Nothing will change. Okay, who has not confirmed? Pradeep, is difficult for you to come. Is it possible for you?
We will try to.
Oh, very good. Very good. Okay, so thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. Ravindra Prabhu, you can call me now. We can speak.